Hey guys, today I'm going to be unboxing the core box of Skytear. It describes itself as a card-driven miniatures game inspired by MOBA video games. I like most of those words except MOBA, but I actually like MOBA board games, funny enough. Just the video games aren't for me. It's maybe a little too samey. Funny how that works, but either way, I'm excited to kind of see the miniatures. Now, one of the interesting things here is like the miniatures that they show in the back here are like more white and less gray. And so I don't feel like it shows the detail that it probably should. So I'm excited to see how they actually look like in here. And of course, to see all the art and all that kind of stuff. So let's see what we have here. It's an interesting shaped or sized box as well. It's not one that I'm used to receiving. It's kind of I mean, it's a rectangle, but it's like slightly tall. I don't know. It's just interesting. All right, get rid of that. I will say that it feels very smooth, which I actually really like. Like very smooth, and the color saturation on here is very nice. Also, it has like an angry diamond ice rat, so there's that too. Seems quite sturdy too, like some good cardboard. On the inside here, I am seeing very, very clean glue all the way to the edge. Very nice. I'm not seeing any scuff marks on the sides either. Yeah, very impressive. That's a nice box. Nice and sturdy. Makes me feel safe getting it in there. All right, now we have the rulebook. You know what I'm going to do. Flip it over and look at the pretty art. Oh, look at that. That's cool. I like it. Very cool art. Try new game modes. Influence development. Register. Join the community. Find the closest door. Very neat. I like that. All right, let's look at that. 23 pages and no index. Wah, wah, wah. Ideally, you have an index, especially if you have 23 pages of amazing rules for your amazing game. You want me to be able to find what it is I'm looking for in an alphabetized index. Ideally, drafting and deck building. I love drafting. Going backwards in here, apparently. Good use of kind of calling out the A, B, and, you know, all that kind of stuff, which is nice. I'm not seeing it's mostly so far talking about cards, and okay, here's a little bit of like movement and stuff like that. All right, cool. Area of effect, that's good to describe. Sometimes that can get kind of confusing. Introduction. Component box list where the components are images. I always appreciate that. It's always good. And here we have a table of contents that is not an index. That's just your headers. Okay, so needs an index, but otherwise looks fairly well done. Also haven't read it yet. Just saw it. All right, let's look at the board here. Now I can even say just right now how clean this kind of cardboard cut is. Like it just feels really, really good, which is nice. That's a promising note there. It looks like it's double-sided. I'm not going to be able to show you the whole thing here, but you can kind of get a sense of it. So there's one there. Looks like you have kind of the score system on the back and some stuff there. And then on this one is a more, it looks like two different modes. This one has a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here and some decks. The other one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but no spots for decks. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly if it's, you know, how many players it is. Maybe that's 3 players there. Maybe that's what that is. And this is 4 and 5 players. I don't know. That's my initial guess. It's by the amount of players. But either way, this folds up nice. It lays down flat. The glue on here is exquisite. The feel of it's nice and smooth. It's got a little bit of like a linen feel to it. It's matte instead of high reflective shiny, which I like. This has actually been really good. I can see why there are some companies that like what they make and are proud of what they make and aren't afraid for me to see it, and others that cower in fear. I don't know. Maybe they probably don't care. They are tiny. I was not expecting the scale. All right, we'll look at that in a second. First, we gotta punch these out. Now, it looks like there's no big ones, which is kind of, oh yeah. Look at that, look at that. So here's a little tag here, right? Just kind of a little bit right there. And I can't feel it, it is visible, but that came out So you can see it will hang there if you, so the tag is right here, right? You can kind of see it there. So if you push on this one, it's going to hang. So ideally you're pushing over here so you break it off right away. That'll help try and prevent it from, you know, pulling away anything, but it looks like it's going to come out just fine. Get some of these down here. There's some little ones. I'm just going to make a mess of things. This is a good experience, man. If you like popping bubbles or punching out stuff, you're in for a very short-lived treat here. And look at that, they even line up there. I like that. All right, so let me just scoot these down here, or drop some on the floor. That'd be my luck. There we are. And you go over there. Now, go back to here. Baggies. I love that they included baggies. Not only that, but this, I mean, it seems very straightforward when it comes to no glue. Thank you for no glue. I appreciate the no glue. There are no dimples on the bottom here to hold them in place, but they all seem to stay fairly straight, mainly because I think it looks like at least the base goes all the way to the edge there. So that, I mean, it looks like it held it just fine. Okay, I actually want to look at some of these. I always appreciate some baggies. I collected these. You'd be amazed how many different sizes and types I have and all that kind of stuff. But what I really like about these is that they're thinking about this. This did not help them in shipping. It helps me after the game, after I have the game. In other words, they're thinking about the consumer and not just them getting it to you. It's the different mindset between I just need to make this transaction and I want these people to actually enjoy my game. There are no holes in here, so they can fill with air, but they are very thick, and it looks like they won't like break when you get those really cheap ones that like start tearing apart as soon as you split it. None of that's going on here, but it's already got a little bit of air in there. Okay, got some cards here, just kind of 2 packs. Again, see, I've been impressed here. They have the little easy open thing for people like me that struggle with everything that they do in life, like opening packs of cards. If I can do that, let's see. Maybe not. Maybe I still can't do it. Like I said, I struggle with everything in life. Oh, maybe I should start where it's supposed to start. Maybe that's the goal. Maybe that's what I should be doing. What do you think? All right. Now, should just be able to look at that. Look at that. Easy peasy. And again, I'm not stuck with this loose cards because they gave me baggies, which is very thoughtful of them. So let's go ahead and move this out just a little bit more. Okay, so we have some repeated art here. Oh, it's the same card, so that explains it. Repeated cards are just fine. See, same here. Rampant hatred, rampant hatred. The art style here looks fairly uniform from what I'm seeing, which is good. Sometimes, especially if you have different artists, I don't know if they did or not, it's kind of hard to get a uniform look to it. But I am not seeing anything that really stands out as different. These all look pretty well made there. Looks like we have some reminder cards, which is nice. Now these are reflective, so you will get that kind of glare, as you can see there. Makes it a little bit hard to read sometimes, depending on your lighting situation. I prefer matte, but this is all right. What I will say is this is the first component that I'm not totally happy with. The cut on them is nice. They are very, very thin, like extremely thin, and they feel like a paper product and not necessarily like a plastic, like what you'll get from like poker cards or playing cards or something like that, where you feel like you could bend them before breaking them. If I bent this too much, it would crease very easily. These are very thin. Now, if you're not shuffling a whole lot, it's not terrible. The only thing I will say is if you have a hand of them and you're dealing with a hand, a lot of people will end up, especially when they just have one, of cupping it, and these will totally bend. So again, it depends on the rule set and how you're using the cards, but I would have liked to see these a bit thicker. These are, again, very, very thin. Great art, great symbology. None of them have a ton of words on them. I just like it when there's this is like my limit here. It looks like there's probably 3 different things, and not something you're just like playing randomly. But a lot of times you'll get ones that have like half words. You're like, I don't want to read a paragraph just to play a card. So like that. These are probably more of the same, so I'm not going to open them up. I imagine they're just like that. Let's look at some miniatures. That's what you want to see anyway. I will be showing this off in higher detail on my turntable at the very end of the video. So right now I'm just going to be moving them around and looking at them. Later on at the very end, you'll see them and it'll just be me talking over the video and it'll just be in like, you know, this kind of great detail. All right, so let's see what we got here. For these little guys, actually, let me zoom in a little bit. All right, that should be zoomed in enough for you guys. So right here, I can say that I'd probably trim the bottom part here. There's a tiny bit of flash where they cut it off. It's just my OCD-ness about that. The rock texture looks good. That'll dry brush well. There's a little bit of a blend here where it goes it's just not a super strong line here where it goes from his arm to the rock. When you paint it, it'll be fine. This one is pretty strong. This is a little kind of bendy, a little wavy there. Detail-wise, though, these are actually quite impressive. The rock texture on here is good. And you can see the different muscle groups there. For a kind of a little dinky minion dude, that looks pretty good. Same with this. This dude is armored. I love it. A great detail here. So you can hear that. So some good texture on here that'll show up. That'll actually show up on a wash quite well. Same with this little like molten spear thing here. It's nice and thick, though it is a little bent. I'll need to straighten that out, but a little TLC and some hot water will do wonders there. Good detail here. I love the kind of subtle sculpt on the base. I would have liked it to not have this rounded edge to it. I mean, I guess with the shape, the kind of, what is this, a pentagon? Octagon, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so it's a pentagon. I would have liked to, you know, not have it. When I paint it, it'll be framed, which is fine, I guess. Just something I notice. All right, then we got these little people again for the scale. This is probably like what, maybe 15, 20 millimeter, maybe 20. No, it might be, it might even, yeah. The base here is pretty thick. But around there, definitely not 32 millimeter here. These are pretty tiny guys. And it's true scale too. Actually, this might not even be true scale, but either way, those hands are very small, but there are fingers. I see fingers. So better detail than a lot of 32 millimeters I've seen. Great detail on the armor muscles here, the wrinkles on here. These are actually quite good quality, especially for the scale. I'm pretty impressed. Here's the wolf guy. So the cloak that's torn on him is quite good. The texture on the fur is a little thin for my taste. This is probably the first one where I'm not totally happy with it. I would have liked it to be thicker so that a wash would have been able to show it up. And this, where it is right now, it won't show up a whole bunch. And then the teeth just kind of lose definition entirely. The eyes are just tiny divots. So far, my least favorite miniature out of them. But the other ones are so far been great. All right, let's look at the heroes. That's what we're all about anyway. Okay, so a little bit of cleanup on the arms here. This is all true scale with the hands and the feet and the face being appropriately sized and not enlarged like you will in a legendary or heroic scale. The swords actually all seem fairly straight to the point where I'm actually quite impressed with it. It's because it's a little bit thicker, but they still got kind of a nice taper to them to make them sharp. A very interesting pose. I don't know what she's doing with her hands there, but that is certainly interesting. I like that she's barefoot and then she's on the kind of the rocks here, though it coming up here and blending into the foot maybe a little bit. Good wrinkles on the pants here, and the face does have, while it doesn't, it's kind of expressionless. This one it's supposed to be expressionless. It's kind of hard to tell. But she does have cheeks and eyes and brows and a nose and even a very tiny mouth. So overall, very impressed with that one. Okay, Mr. Scimitar Man. Yeah, so he is very dynamic to the point where I start to wonder about his spine. But what I will say right away is I love that he's slightly hanging off the edge. I love that he's right there. I love that he's not centered. He's leaning back and then kind of turning. So you notice there's all this space up front here. It just makes it more dynamic and more interesting. This is a very, very kind of action pose. And again, I love the ripple here. You can tell, like, especially with this coming out like this, very, very cool that he really just whipped his arm out. His hand, is it? So yeah, it looks, this hand looks smaller than this hand. Do you see the fingers here? What, 1, 2, 3, 4. So right here to right here are his fingers. And then this one, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and it just looks like it's smaller, right? Like this hand looks big, and this hand looks more normal size. This hand looks a little bit bigger. I don't know what's up with that. And then the trim kind of starts in a good spot, kind of on his hat, and then kind of goes up right to the front of the face, which is always unfortunate. And then across, this is what kills me, across the cape. Ideally, you line the side of the cape with it, which looks like you have, that's because there's a mole line here, a mole line all down here, and then it cuts across here. This is hard to clean up and make it look smooth, and you definitely, with how wavy this is, it's going to look awesome with the wash. You want to clean that up as good as you can. The face, though, those are some deep set eyes, very high cheekbones, very defined mouth. Yeah, I've been really impressed with this. This is sculpted in a very smart way. Not like the best plastic I've ever seen, but again, when it comes to the sculpt design, it was done in a very intelligent way with the concept that, hey, this is going to be miniature form. This is a little subtle, but for the texture, I think it'll actually work. You put like a sepia wash on that, it'll look great. Well-defined muscles. The assembly process here could have been better. I'll definitely have to gap fill that if I want to paint him. But otherwise, again, well-defined hands and muscles, and the face is good. He even has little tiny eyes in there. Texture on the fur is fantastic. I like this one. Very, very Hulk-like. Tempted to paint him green. All right, now we have Mr. Featherman. Oh, this will look great washed. This kind of cape here will look great. His hand here, there's a line going all the way kind of across some of the fingers. That's going to be hard to clean up. And then kind of all along the side here. I mean, you do what you got to do, but, you know, it's kind of unfortunate. The texture here on the inside, I think looks great. It's very subtle. It won't really take a wash, but it'll guide your brush when you're doing brush strokes to make that texture really pop. Texture on the ground looks good. His face looks good. I love the textures on his clothes, especially these kind of padded armor here, and then the bandages here. All that's great. Again, the face, he has actual brows, like separate from his forehead, and then a little tuft of hair, which I really like. I love the upturned hand. I love that the fact that the fingers are not mittened. They're actually slightly separated. His fingers look a little stubby though, but that's all right. It's definitely a normal style for a miniature, so I can't fault him too much for that. What I will though is the back of the feathers, like right here, almost nothing. Like it is as close to nothing as you can get while still being there. This here that's already kind of skinny or thin is more defined than this. This is not well defined here. Man, that'll look good though right here. Love the ridges there. A wash will show up really good on that. Overall, I think he'll paint great. But you'll have to kind of paint in the texture on these feathers. And then the only other thing I'll say is this one right here, because of it's not straight, it's like slanted. It looks like it's super fat and thick. I mean, they all kind of are, right? They're definitely not as thin as normal feathers would be, which is fine. But this one in particular looks really fat because of its angle. All right. Now we got, oh, this is a cool one. I love the shield. Very cool shield, very cool sword. Mouth open. He even has the creases around his mouth where his cheeks are. Great detail there. This right here might hold a wash, but then this right here won't, and then these definitely won't. So again, a little thin on here. When it comes to painting, when it comes to looking at it, he looks cool. Though from a distance, you're not even going to really tell that there's much of a texture there at all. It's mostly going to look kind of smooth to you. Same with the texture on the feathers here. It's just feathers in general. Very thick lines on the base, so that'll paint well. If you're trying to go for the art style, that they have, where it's very kind of, you know, thick lines, kind of not cartoony looking. I think this will do fantastic. Very thin detail here, very great detail here, and again that face with the turned over, kind of looking at his thing like I'm victorious. And then of course this whole thing is very cool too. And again, using the whole base, like just even kind of thinning out over here. His knee's bent in a weird way. It works. It's just I think if he stood there too long, he'd get an ankle sore. All right, like him. Moving on through, almost there, almost on the home stretch here. This lady is freaking awesome. I love the skull, like the skull face here. Very kind of muddy details here, though. This is maybe and then you see right here that they connected these two, so her leg gets super thick there. See how her leg's skinny here, and that this is not. Maybe I need to get a little bit closer. Hopefully that's still in focus. So see how right here the leg is normal and then goes into the skirt, and so there's kind of that triangle here. And you notice here they didn't do that. So where it should go right here, and then right here, and there should be a little triangle here. The triangle's filled in, so it just looks like she's got a really fat leg. That's always kind of unfortunate. It's very hard to paint. It's like, do you stop here and then paint this one here, or do you just paint her leg really fat? That's kind of what you end up doing here. Very fine detail here. This is probably the limit to detail, but it works as far as thinness goes. And then the hair on the top has no texture, whereas the hair down here has texture. Very cool idea for a miniature. Probably my least favorite quality-wise, though. And to make up for it, we have this lady. Oh my gosh, look at all of this. You know how amazing this would look painted? I can tell you right now, amazing. I love the foot here. So the assembly process did leave a little bit of a gap there. So I'd probably want to fill that in so she's not quite hovering. But it's very close. You could do without too. It's not going to be terrible. And everywhere else it looks pretty good. It's just right there. Maybe lift it up a little bit. Yeah, this is a great pose. I love her full kind of swing. You can tell she just swung it back and then she's going to swing back forward. And it's like at the apex where she's just about to turn it back. Texture on here is good. Maybe slightly bent, but just slightly. Same here. I don't know if this is supposed to be bent in or not, but it works. The chain here is actually decent. I see the chain links. Little muddy here, but overall I'll give that a pass. It actually looks pretty good. Chained all the way here. Unfortunate that you have the mold line across again, just like that. I get that it's hard, and it'd probably be more expensive and more pieces, but it's very hard to clean there. That being said, the mold line is pretty minimal. Hair texture looks good. Face looks good. The assembly on her head is okay. Could be a little bit better, hidden by how the hair, like if the hair laid out, maybe instead of going in, you wouldn't get that kind of ridge there. But yeah, this is a cool mini, a very cool mini. I like this one. So yeah, she just goes in kind of like that, I guess. All right, and then we have this guy, which, wow, look at the pose on Mr. Flamboyant here. I dig it. I like his little sparkle attack here. Love the little chest, and it seems fairly appropriately sized actually too. I love the sandals. Mold line all across here. It's gonna be very hard to clean it here. Very hard. Just because of all the texture here. There's only so much you can do except try and avoid the mold lines to begin with. Same with inside here. It's gonna be hard to deal with. Yeah, because of how wrinkly he is, that mold line's gonna be killer. But the pose is great. The assembly on the head is actually very good. I like this one a lot. Like once it's painted, you're not going to really even see the line there. It's going to be great. This is a great miniature. This is cool. All the kind of coins here, they don't look as haphazardly placed as I'd like. They look fairly in a row, right? 1, 2, 3. I would like them maybe some stacked a little bit, not quite so cleanly put there. But visually, when it comes to painting it, that'll add a lot to put those little shiny gold coins on there. Very cool. All right, and now the big guy. Okay, so right off the bat, this texture here, some of the, like there's different ones, right? So this show up great, this barely kind of there, but I think it's just different kinds of rock, because see, like it's right here too versus this. Right here is completely smooth. I don't know if it's supposed to be or not, but it's very completely smooth there. These ridges though will show up great. The textures on the bone itself, or whatever this is, some like this will probably show up. Others, maybe not so much. It's like just there. Assembly wise, it's not the best fit, but it works. Especially inside here, which is probably where you really want to make sure it's all good anyway. The ridge in here is good. Good luck painting that though. That's going to be kind of difficult. Love the arm texture here. That looks good. Fingernails are okay. Some like this show up good. Others kind of blend into the finger and it just looks completely smooth, like right here. I can't even tell. This looks like he has a pointy finger. Teeth look great. They're little stubby things. They look good, especially on the inside. The inside of the mouth it does have ridges. It is sculpted. That's good. People like Awakened Realms still don't do that yet, so that's always good to see. Texture here is good. Assembly on the head is actually fairly good. Deep ridges here. This is a cool guy. I like him. You know, nothing like super amazing, perfect or anything, but all of these are definitely in the good category. Definitely impressed, especially with this box, and then of course the thought around, you know, having the kind of pull tab there, having a nice storage system here, giving baggies, all that's cool. Let's go ahead and get to the final turntable of these miniatures. You can see them up close and see exactly kind of what I was looking at, and we'll talk again over there.
Alright, I'm back as promised with this close-up, well-lit, detailed view of all the miniatures, and I must say I love their sculpts. They're all just kind of interesting and unique and dynamic, and I guess I really appreciate that. They're not like any miniature I have from any other game. Each and every single one of them are actually quite unique, and that I don't have like 3 more of them, and I have quite a few miniatures, so that's always really nice to have. I will say, however, that I do have a problem with almost every single one. This chick or this dude with the, I think it's a chick with the swords on the back, pretty okay, except for the feet on the bottom. We'll get back to her. But like the bear, obviously assembly bad. He doesn't have any teeth, and it looks like he's wearing like shoes on the bottom of his moccasins or boots or whatever those are. I don't know. It looks kind of weird at the bottom there. The lady here, her head isn't assembled well, and there's a line across her dress. There's a line up and down the kind of the dude with the throwing star, a line across the scimitar dude. The bottom of the feathers here on this guy look very silly with the kind of supposedly rocks behind. I don't know, it just looks bad. Witch Doctor Lady Chick just has a melted face. It just doesn't look too good. The Aztec looking kind of guy here, again, the feathers have very little detail, though otherwise I actually really like him. I like his open mouth and everything. So, I mean, each one kind of has an issue, but, you know, I will say that the hardest thing to get over, our hardest hurdle for any company to get over is the sculpt design. And I love all of these. I think they're all very cool sculpts and very unique and an interesting IP, and I would love to see more from them in the future, because there's a lot of promise here, which I really like. And none of these are necessarily bad, with this Witch Doctor lady probably being the one that I would actively probably refuse to paint. All the others I think would paint up actually quite well and be kind of nice. You can see the kind of the feet here, or lack thereof, on that sword lady. But again, I love the design of the sculpt, the poses, and I like that they did textured bases. I really appreciate that. I just, again, a little bit of assembly, a little bit more detail would be great. I don't know if they need to swap manufacturers. If they're using Easter or Easter or whatever they're called, then yes, they do. They're terrible when it comes to manufacturing miniatures, but otherwise, I'm very happy with this, and like his swords are a little fat, but that's okay. I mean, that's most games here. I really like them. Kind of the same here. You'll notice the base on the big guy is up a little bit, so there's a little bit of warbage here, along with the back right person, the little guy there. He's a little wobbly too. The big guy here, I already kind of mentioned it, but the ridges and the design there are all great. The detail on the bones are way too shallow for a wash to show up or anything like that. You're gonna have to kind of make that pop via highlights, which is fine, I guess, but it is what it is. These little guys I love. This little Spartan dude here is pretty much perfect. Again, there was that mold line on the ridges there. The mold lines in general are just kind of a bit more than I'd like here. For the big guy, I like his design. If you notice in the back, he kind of keeps going and morphs into this rock. On the inside, though, it looks like it goes straight from rock to bone, with like a very solid line when it comes to difference in like texture even. You can see it like right now inside there. That's kind of a bummer. It'd be very hard to make it look natural, whereas on the outside, it's a little bit easier. You'd have to do some gap fill. This assembly isn't the best ever, but nothing terrible here either. So I like all the textures that I'm seeing, especially on like the rock guy there and stuff like that. Like I said, the Spartan is fantastic. So yeah, anyway, I would put these miniatures as good or okay. None of them are actively bad, especially with the sculpt design. I think they're all very interesting miniatures. But none of them reach that great level either. Just thanks to a few production hiccups that hopefully get resolved, because I would love to see and be interested in the next game from this company. I think they're on the right track here. Anyway, guys, I hope you appreciated the detailed unboxing. I do a lot of these detailed unboxings, detailed reviews, Kickstarter and board game news, and of course miniature painting as well. So if that sounds good to you and you're not subscribed, please feel free to subscribe. I'd love to have you here as part of the community. Additionally, we'll be going to Gen Con. Now that's actually quite expensive, but considering I am fully independent and do not accept money from any of these board game companies, so that I can review them honestly and not actually have to lie to you to keep a business transaction going or sign any contracts of any kind. But that means I am reliant on you guys either watching my videos with ads, or if you can, financially supporting me through the join button right down below this video, or in the description below to my Patreon, or at the end of the video here. If you're able to do that and you'd like to support honest game coverage like that, I would certainly appreciate it and would love to have you there. Otherwise though, either way, thank you so much. But a huge shout out, of course, to my YouTube members and patrons. You guys all rock, you guys are all awesome, and I love having you guys here. Alright, anyway, that's it for me. I will talk to you later on in the week.